Nia, a graceful and ambitious woman from Kumasi, Ghana, had always dreamed of a love story that felt true. On a warm Saturday evening, her family gathered for dinner. Laughter, music, the smell of jollof rice filling the air. Everything felt perfect. Her boyfriend, Kwame, who had been by her side for years, stood up with a glass in his hand. He smiled nervously, cleared his throat, and suddenly dropped to one knee. Gasps filled the room. Phones came out. Someone started recording. Then, in front of both families, Kwame asked the question every woman dreams of hearing. "Will you marry me?" Everyone clapped. Her mother screamed with joy. Her father stood proudly. But Nia felt her hands go cold. She smiled, yes, but only with her lips. Deep inside, her heart was breaking, because behind the camera flashes and joyful cheers, she knew a painful truth. She had seen something weeks ago that she couldn't forget. Kwame had proposed before, but not to her. She was not his first choice, and yet here he was, pretending this was his one big moment. She looked down at the ring, shining so bright. Everyone thought she was the luckiest girl in the world, but no one could see the storm in her chest. Still, she nodded and said yes, her voice soft, not because she believed in him, but because she had a plan to uncover the truth and take back her power. The dream proposal had just turned into the beginning of something much bigger. 3 weeks before the dinner, everything still seemed normal, or at least Nia thought so. She was at home, relaxing after work, scrolling through her messages when a strange notification popped up. It was from an unknown number. She opened it, expecting spam or a wrong number. But the message was short and sharp, and it made her heart skip. "Tell Kwame I kept the first ring." At first, Nia just stared at the screen. What did that mean? First ring? Who was this? She read it again and again, trying to make sense of it. The name on the message said Sade, but she didn't know anyone by that name. She even laughed it off at first, telling herself it must be a mistake or someone playing games. Still, something in her chest didn't sit right. For days, Nia couldn't shake the message. She didn't ask Kwame about it, not yet. Instead, she started paying closer attention. Kwame had been acting a little differently. He was more on his phone, sometimes hiding his screen when she walked in. He'd tell her he was busy with work or that he was tired, but her gut was whispering something her heart didn't want to hear. One evening, while Kwame was in the shower, Nia picked up his phone. Her hands trembled. She wasn't the type to snoop, but that message wouldn't leave her alone. She opened his gallery, and then she saw it. Screenshots. Dozens of them. Messages. Pictures. And then, the one that shattered her. A video of Kwame proposing. Not to her, to Sade. 2 months ago. Same words. Same ring box. Even the same little speech about forever and destiny. Nia felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. Her chest tightened. Tears welled up, but she blinked them away. She watched the video again. There was Sade, surprised and smiling, as Kwame got down on one knee and asked her to marry him, just like he would do later for Nia. But if he proposed to Sade, why was he still with Nia? Why didn't he tell her? And why was Sade messaging her now? Her fingers trembled as she locked the phone and placed it back. She sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall, in silence. The truth was hitting her hard. The man she loved, the man she thought was planning a future with her, had already given that promise to someone else. But Nia didn't scream. She didn't cry out loud. Something deeper than sadness settled inside her, a quiet strength. This wasn't going to break her. No, she was going to find the full truth, and when she did, the whole world would hear it. Nia waited a few days before she said anything. She needed time to process everything, to breathe, to stay calm. But the pain didn't go away. Every time she looked at Kwame, all she could see was that video, him on one knee, asking another woman to be his forever. So one evening, when they were sitting on the couch, she looked him in the eyes and asked, "Who is Sade?" Kwame froze for a second. Then he forced a laugh and said, "What? That girl? She's crazy. She's been stalking me for months." Nia stayed quiet. He continued, "She's obsessed. I never proposed to her. It was a joke between friends. She's trying to ruin what we have." He said it so casually, like it was no big deal. But Nia had seen the truth. The video wasn't a joke. The ring wasn't fake. His smile in the video wasn't forced. He meant every word, just not with her. Her heart broke all over again, not just because of the lie, but because of how easily he told it. Kwame looked her in the eyes and tried to make her feel crazy, like she had imagined everything. That's when she knew. This wasn't a mistake. This was manipulation. But Nia didn't scream or fight. Not this time. She simply smiled and nodded. Okay, she said softly. Maybe I misunderstood. Inside, though, something in her shifted. She realized she had a choice. She could let this destroy her, or she could take control. And in that moment, she decided she wouldn't let him win. If he wanted to lie, she'd let him, in front of everyone. She would let him go all the way with it. She'd let him plan the perfect proposal, tell the perfect story, play the perfect boyfriend, and then she'd show the world the truth. So Nia played along. She acted normal, sweet, supportive. She laughed at his jokes, went to dinners with him, even held his hand tighter. And all the while, she was planning, quietly, carefully, patiently. She saved every screenshot, every message, every photo. She backed up the video of the first proposal. She started documenting everything. If Kwame wanted to play games, she would beat him at his own. She wasn't just going to walk away. She was going to walk away with her power, her dignity, and a story that would make sure no woman ever had to go through this alone. Let him kneel, let him lie, let him shine in front of the cameras. Because when the truth came out, he wouldn't just fall, he would crumble, and Nia would be the one standing tall. The evening was beautiful. The living room was filled with soft music, warm lights, and the smell of delicious food. Both families were there, smiling, laughing, dressed in their best clothes. It looked like a celebration, and in a way, it was. Everyone thought this night was about love, about the beginning of forever. But for Nia, it was something else. She wore a long emerald dress that shimmered when she moved. Her makeup was soft, her hair neatly done, and her smile perfect. No one could tell that her heart was quietly breaking underneath it all. She had practiced this look in the mirror, calm, collected, unshaken. Kwame had been glowing all evening. He was the perfect host, shaking hands, making jokes, charming everyone. Nia watched him closely. The same man who lied so easily was now playing the role of the devoted partner. She knew it was all a show, and she was letting him perform it to the very end. And then it happened. The music lowered. The room got quiet. Kwame stood up and tapped his glass gently. "Excuse me, everyone," he said with a wide smile. "I have something very special to say." Nia's stomach turned. She clenched her fists under the table, keeping her face calm. Kwame took a deep breath and walked toward her. Then, slowly, he dropped to one knee. Gasps echoed across the room. Phones were pulled out. Cameras started recording. Mothers were already tearing up. "Nia," Kwame began, looking up at her like she was the only person in the world. "From the moment I met you, I knew you were the one. You've stood by me, believed in me, loved me without conditions. I want to spend the rest of my life making you happy." The words sounded beautiful. They always do. But to Nia, they were empty. She had heard them before, in another video, spoken to another woman. The same rhythm, the same look in his eyes. It wasn't real. It was a recycled performance. He pulled out the ring, the same one Sade had once worn. Nia's breath caught in her throat. Her hands trembled. She could feel all the eyes on her, waiting for her answer. She looked down at Kwame, smiled softly, and whispered, "Yes." The room exploded with cheers. People clapped, hugged, celebrated. Kwame slid the ring onto her finger and stood up to kiss her. Cameras flashed, but deep inside, Nia felt cold. That wasn't the warmth of love. It was the chill of knowing the truth and hiding it behind a perfect smile. She wasn't happy. She wasn't surprised. She wasn't swept away by love. She was heartbroken, but not weak. This wasn't her fairy tale. This was her final setup. And soon, the world would know why. A few days after the dinner, Nia sat alone in her room, staring at the ring on her finger. It sparkled beautifully, but to her, it felt heavy, not just on her hand, but on her heart. She kept hearing Kwame's words from the proposal, and even though everyone around her thought it was magical, she knew the truth. Those words weren't just meant for her. They had been spoken before, to another woman. She picked up her phone and opened the message again. "Tell Kwame I kept the first ring." It had haunted her for weeks, but now she was ready. Nia took a deep breath and replied, "Hi, Sade. Can we talk?" Sade responded quickly. They agreed to meet at a quiet cafe outside the city, far from familiar faces. Nia arrived first, nervous and unsure of what to expect. Would Sade be angry, cold, jealous? But when Sade walked in, she looked just as nervous. They made eye contact, and for a second, they both just stared. Then, without a word, Sade sat down and said softly, "I'm sorry you had to find out like that." Nia's eyes welled up, but she blinked fast. "Did he really propose to you?" Sade nodded. 2 months ago, same lines, same box, same promises. He told me I was the one. She reached into her purse and pulled out photos on her phone, a video of the proposal, Kwame on one knee, smiling up at her, saying the exact same words he had used with Nia, word for word. Nia's hand shook as she watched. "He said those exact words to me," she whispered. Sade gave a small, sad laugh. "He has a script, I guess." They both sat in silence for a moment, and then, unexpectedly, they cried. 2 women. Same pain, same betrayal. They weren't enemies, they were survivors of the same lie. The anger melted into understanding. The sadness turned into a strange kind of strength. Over coffee and shared tears, they talked. Sade told Nia how Kwame ghosted her suddenly after the proposal. No reason, no goodbye, just gone. And now it made sense. He had moved on to Nia, pretending like nothing had happened. Nia sat back, wiping her tears. "He thinks we'll stay quiet, that we'll just disappear and let him keep playing this game." Sade looked at her and said firmly, "He doesn't know who he's messing with." They smiled, real, strong smiles. That day, a bond was formed, not out of pain, but out of power. 2 women, betrayed by the same man, now ready to stand together. They didn't want revenge. They wanted truth. And Kwame, he had no idea what was coming. The house was full again, another family gathering, this time to celebrate the engagement. Laughter echoed through the rooms, music played softly, and the smell of waki and grilled chicken filled the air. Nia walked in, dressed in a deep royal blue gown that hugged her gracefully. Her hair was pinned up, makeup soft but flawless. She looked like a queen, calm, powerful, glowing. But inside, her heart was steady for a different reason. Tonight wasn't about love, it was about truth. Kwame was there too, beaming as always, surrounded by his parents, cousins, and friends. He had no idea what was coming. He smiled at Nia, proud, completely unaware that the woman standing in front of him had already seen everything behind the curtain. After dinner, the music turned down. Everyone gathered in the living room. Kwame's father was about to make a toast when Nia gently raised her hand. "Excuse me," she said, standing up. Her voice was calm but strong. Every head turned to her. "I have something to say, and someone I'd like you all to meet." There was a pause. Then the door opened. Sade stepped into the room. Gasps filled the air. Confused faces turned to Kwame, who instantly froze. His smile dropped. His eyes darted from Sade to Nia and back again. He looked like a man watching his world fall apart in slow motion. "What is going on here?" his mother asked sharply, already clutching her chest. Nia didn't flinch. She reached into her purse and pulled out a small projector she had brought. She connected it to her phone, turned toward the blank wall, and hit play. The first video played. Kwame on one knee, proposing to Sade. His voice was warm, loving, confident. "You're my forever. I want to spend my life making you happy," people murmured. A few covered their mouths. Then came the second video. Kwame, same lines, same voice, same ring box, but this time proposing to Nia. Side by side, same speech, same lies. The room went silent. Kwame stepped forward, stammering. I can explain. It's not what it looks like." His mother gasped, staggered, and collapsed onto the couch. "Oh, Jesus," she whispered. His father looked away in shame. His sister shook her head in disgust. Nia didn't look at Kwame. She looked straight ahead, standing tall beside Sade. "I was never the second choice," she said quietly. "I was just the one who found out." Sade added, "We both were promised forever, and now we promise each other the truth." Kwame's face had turned pale. He tried to speak, but no words came out. Nia took off the ring, placed it gently on the table, and turned to her family. "This isn't a breakup," she said with a calm smile. "This is freedom." And with that, she and Sade walked out. 2 women, heads high, hearts full of truth. Behind them, silence. Ahead of them, power. Kwame stood frozen as Nia and Sade walked out of the house. The room was still dead silent. The projector had stopped, but the echoes of those 2 proposal videos were still hanging in the air. His mother sat on the couch, fanning herself, too shocked to speak. His father stood in the corner with his hands in his pockets, jaw clenched tight. No one moved. No one smiled. The room that once felt full of celebration now felt like a funeral. Kwame finally broke the silence. "Please, everyone listen," he said, stepping forward with his hands raised like he was surrendering. "It wasn't what it looked like. I was going through a lot. I was confused." His sister scoffed. "Confused? You proposed to 2 women, Kwame? With the same ring, same words, same lies." He turned toward her, desperate. "I loved them both, okay? It was complicated. I didn't mean to hurt anyone." His mother finally looked up, her eyes filled with tears. "You brought shame to this family," she said softly. "How could you?" "I was under pressure," Kwame said, voice cracking. "I was trying to figure out my life," but his father had heard enough. Without a word, he grabbed his car keys and walked out of the house. No eye contact, no goodbye, just silence. Kwame tried to follow. "Dad, please, let me explain." But the door slammed shut behind him. Now his hands were shaking. He looked around at the family members still in the room, all avoiding his eyes. Some were whispering. A few looked at him with disappointment so sharp it felt like knives. His sister stood up and faced him fully. "You didn't just hurt Naya. You humiliated her. You humiliated all of us. You thought you could juggle women like they were options on a shelf. You're not a man. You're a disgrace." Kwame opened his mouth to respond, but no words came. His voice had left him. The charm, the confidence, the fake warmth, all gone. There was nothing left but shame. In the days that followed, things got worse. Word spread quickly. The videos were leaked online. Comments poured in. People called him a liar, a manipulator, a fraud. Friends stopped replying to his messages. His business partners pulled out of deals. Clients cancelled meetings. His company's social media was flooded with angry comments. He lost brand deals. His inbox was full of silence. The perfect image he had built, the loyal boyfriend, the charming entrepreneur, the man every girl wanted, was gone. He tried reaching out to Nia. She never responded. He messaged Sade, blocked. He showed up at her house once, begging for forgiveness. She didn't even open the door. Kwame was left with the one thing he never thought he'd face: consequences. Love didn't collapse around him. He collapsed inside it. After everything fell apart with Kwame, Nia could have disappeared. She could have hidden away, let the pain bury her, and stayed quiet. But she didn't. She did the opposite. She rose, not just for herself, but for every woman who had ever felt like someone's second choice. One evening, Nia sat with Sade at a quiet rooftop cafe in Accra. The sky was painted with stars, and a soft breeze blew through their hair. They talked for hours about pain, healing, and the countless women who had messaged them after the proposal videos went viral. Women from Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa. Stories poured in. "This happened to me too. I wish I had walked away. You both gave me courage." Nia took a sip of her drink and looked at Sade. "What if we created something? A space, a community, for women like us, smart, strong, but sometimes blind to the red flags?" Sade smiled, eyes lighting up. "Yes, a place where women learn to choose themselves first." And just like that, First Choice was born. They started small, an Instagram page and a simple website. They posted real stories, healing tips, signs of toxic love, and reminders that self-worth should never be compromised. They shared pieces of their own journey, how they discovered the truth, how they healed, and how they turned heartbreak into power. Within weeks, the page exploded. Videos got millions of views. Their story kept circulating, not as gossip, but as inspiration. Women tagged their friends. Husbands and boyfriends got nervous. People were talking and listening. Soon, they were invited to speak on talk shows, both local and international. From Accra to Lagos, Nairobi to Johannesburg, their voices echoed in living rooms and phone screens. One viral moment showed Sade saying, "We're not bitter, we're better, and we refuse to settle for less than we deserve." That quote got printed on t-shirts. They held workshops in universities and women's groups. They launched a mentorship program. They even created a red flag checklist that women could download to reflect on their relationships. Brands started reaching out, not to Kwame, but to them. Nia walked into every room now with her head high, no longer the woman holding back tears at a dinner table, but the woman standing on a stage, teaching others how to walk away with dignity. Sade stood beside her always, a sister not by blood, but by survival. First Choice wasn't just a platform, it became a movement. And as the world watched these two women turn betrayal into beauty, Nia smiled to herself one night and thought, maybe the ring was never the reward. Maybe freedom is. A year later, the sun rose over Kumasi with a warm, golden glow. It was Nia's wedding day, but not to Kwame. That chapter was long gone. Today, she was marrying Dio, a kind-hearted, honest man who had walked with her through her healing. He never tried to fix her pain. He simply held space for her to grow beyond it. He listened, he stayed, and he loved her with quiet strength. The venue was a beautiful garden, decorated with white flowers, soft lights, and gold accents. Family and friends gathered, all dressed in vibrant traditional wear, laughter and joy filling the air. It wasn't just a wedding, it was a celebration of survival, growth, and choosing love the right way. Sade stood proudly by Nia's side as her maid of honor, wearing a wine-colored dress that matched the deep confidence in her eyes. They shared a look just before the ceremony, a silent message only the two of them understood. We made it. As Nia was getting ready, a staff member walked in, holding a small, carefully wrapped box. This was just delivered, he said, handing it to her. Nia frowned slightly. She hadn't been expecting anything else. She opened it slowly, and inside was the ring. That ring. Kwame's ring. The same one he had once slipped onto her finger under fake promises. The same ring he had used with Sade, sitting there quietly in a velvet box like it hadn't burned through lives just a year ago. Nia stared at it for a moment, not with anger, not with pain, just amusement. She let out a soft laugh. Sade walked over. Is that what I think it is? Nia nodded, grinning. Looks like someone thought I needed a reminder. Without hesitation, Nia walked out to one of the local craft vendors, setting up near the edge of the venue. An elderly woman who made jewelry from recycled metals. Can you do anything with this? Nia asked, holding the ring out. The woman looked at it, then at Nia. This is a fine ring, Nia smiled. Not really. It's full of lies. Can you melt it down and make something new out of it? The woman chuckled. I can do that. Nia handed it over and said clearly, recycle this lie. She walked back into the dressing room feeling lighter than ever. When the music started and Nia walked down the aisle, every step was filled with peace. She wasn't walking toward rescue. She wasn't trying to prove anything. She was simply choosing joy with someone who chose her honestly, fully, and first. And when Dio looked at her, tears in his eyes, everyone could see it. This wasn't a rebound. This was real love. Gentle, steady, and true. Not every heartbreak ends in bitterness. Some end in blessings. The screen fades to soft golden light. A slow breeze moves through tall grass as the camera pans over a quiet field. Nia's voice comes in, calm and steady, not bitter, not angry, just full of truth. She says, sometimes love looks like a diamond, bright, beautiful, something you want to keep forever. But when you hold it up to the light, really look at it closely, you start to see the cracks, the flaws, the pieces that were never truly whole. The scene cuts to old memories, blurry flashes of the proposal, the family dinner, the silent pain behind her eyes as everyone cheered. Then the clips change to her standing tall, speaking her truth, launching First Choice, dancing at her wedding with Dio, hugging Sade, laughing without fear. I used to think being chosen was everything, she continues, that getting the ring meant I had won. But now I know some rings come with chains. Some I love yous are just rehearsals. He proposed to me, but I already knew. Her voice pauses. I already knew he practiced on someone else. The screen fades to black for a beat. Just her voice remains. One final line. I wasn't second choice. I was just the first to walk away. With my dignity, a soft piano note plays. Then, the last shot appears. Nia, standing at sunrise, hair blowing gently in the wind, eyes closed, face peaceful. And on the screen, the words appear in white. Choose yourself first. Always. The screen fades out completely. The story ends, not with heartbreak, but with power.